You ever been everyone's tech support, therapist, and backup plan, but never the one anyone celebrates? Yeah, that's been me. I'm Jace. I'm 27, live in Denver, and I work as a customer success manager for a SaaS company. Fancy title, not so fancy reality. Basically, I spend my weekdays solving everyone else's mess, both at work and in my own family. And that's just kind of my thing. I'm the dependable cousin, the quiet one, the one who gets tagged when someone's locked out of their email, or needs just a quick resume review, or wants help navigating LinkedIn. And I do it. I always have. Not because they're grateful, but because I used to think that maybe, just maybe, if I stayed useful long enough, someone might finally see me. I've spent the last 3 years climbing the ladder at this tech startup. I started as an intern working night shifts at a coffee shop, juggling calls during lunch breaks. While everyone else was out grabbing drinks on weekends, I was watching tutorials, studying CRM platforms, rewriting customer onboarding flows. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. Still, no one in my family really knew what I did. I tried to explain, and my uncle would cut in with, "So you work in computers?" Or my cousin Evan would crack a joke about me being the family's IT guy. I'd laugh it off. What else could I do? Now Evan, he's different. He's loud, confident, the guy who always has a fresh haircut and an even fresher story. My aunt treats him like the crown prince of the family. Every Thanksgiving it's, "Evan, tell everyone about your new gym routine." Or, "Evan, show them your latest dance challenge video." You'd think the guy invented social media. But here's the thing. I helped him with everything behind the scenes. He wanted to land a corporate job? I rewrote his resume. He didn't even know what a CV was until I broke it down. I coached him through interviews, sent him YouTube videos on body language, even bought him a new tie for his big meeting. A blue one, because he once said blue made him feel like a CEO. And then he got it. He landed a job at Target Corporate. Everyone went wild. I was genuinely happy for him. I really was. Because I'd spent so much time helping him, it felt like a tiny win for me, too. And 2 days after his job offer, I got my own good news. I was promoted to team lead. That meant a $17,000 raise, a new desk, a direct report. It was the biggest professional moment of my life so far. So I waited for the perfect time to share it. And then my phone buzzed. Group text, "Surprise party for Evan this Saturday. Come celebrate our boy's big move to corporate life." I stared at the screen for a second. No mention of me. Of course not. Still, I figured maybe I'd go and tell them there. Maybe this could be a double celebration. Family, right? I picked up a bottle of red wine on my way to the party. Even bought one of those little congrats gift bags. I practiced how I'd say it. Actually, I have news too. But in the back of my mind, I already knew how this would go. Because being dependable is not the same as being celebrated. And I was about to find out just how deep that truth ran. The moment I stepped into my aunt's house that Saturday evening, I could tell the celebration had already hit full swing. Music thumped from a Bluetooth speaker in the corner. There were "You Did It" banners taped to the kitchen cabinets and a cake that read "Corporate King" in big red frosting letters. Evan was holding court in the living room like a politician during an election year, shaking hands, cracking jokes, posing for selfies. His Target corporate badge was hanging around his neck like it was a Grammy. I walked in with the wine and the gift bag, expecting at least a few nods of recognition. But I got none. Not even a "Hey, Jace." Not even from my mom, who was sipping wine out of a plastic cup and bragging to someone about Evan's bright future. I hovered awkwardly by the snack table, watching as everyone, cousins, family friends, neighbors, gravitated toward Evan like he was the sun. I approached my mom and tried to speak. "Hey." She interrupted me, her eyes darting toward Evan. "Go give your cousin a hug. Isn't this amazing?" So I did. I gave Evan a half hug, handed him the wine, and said, "Proud of you, man." He barely looked at me. "Thanks, bro. Couldn't be done it without my own hard work, huh?" He winked, then laughed like it was a joke. Maybe it was. I thought, say it now. Say it before the toasts start. So I tried again, slipping into a circle of relatives near the kitchen. "Actually, I have some news too," I said, raising my voice just slightly. "I got promoted this week. Team lead. Pretty huge deal for me." My aunt blinked. "Oh, that's nice, honey." "Very cool," said someone else, already turning back to Evan's story about his Zoom onboarding. And then my mother leaned in and whispered, "Let him have his moment, Jace. This is his night." Her words hit harder than I expected. Let him have his moment? I've been giving him moments for years. Editing his resume while ignoring my own burnout. Helping him rehearse interviews on my lunch breaks. Sending his follow-up thank you emails. He was standing on a ladder I helped build, and I wasn't even allowed to climb it. I stood there quietly while the cake was cut, and Evan posed for photo after photo. I offered to take pictures, like always. I even handed out napkins. I was useful, not celebrated, not acknowledged. Then Evan made a toast. To family, he said, raising his glass, especially the ones who believed in me, who saw my potential when others didn't. You know who you are. Everyone clapped. I didn't. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, not because I needed to go, but because I needed to breathe. I stared at myself in the mirror. I looked tired, hollow, and something in my chest snapped, not loudly, but cleanly, like a branch cracking under too much weight. I didn't return to the living room. Instead, I slipped out the front door, the sounds of celebration fading behind me. I sat in my car in the driveway, staring at the wine-stained "congrats" bag on the passenger seat. I hadn't even gotten a thank you. That night, I lay awake until 2 a.m. And then I did something I've never done before. I opened LinkedIn, not for Evan, not for anyone else, but for me. I drafted a post. Sometimes, the loudest celebration comes from within. This week, I got promoted. No cake, no party, no clapping relatives. Just me, a late-night drive, and a quiet realization. I didn't need applause, just a reason to keep going. I hit post. I figured it'd get a few likes from colleagues. Maybe a kind message or two. I had no idea it would explode. By morning, I had over 600 likes. By noon, it was over 3,000. And by the time I got back from my coffee run, my inbox was flooded. Old coworkers, college classmates, even a few former bosses I hadn't spoken to in years, all congratulating me. People I'd forgotten I knew were reposting my words with their own commentary. This hit home. So many of us know this feeling. Shout out to the quiet ones grinding behind the scenes. It felt surreal. The same words my family had brushed aside were suddenly resonating with complete strangers across the country. One comment from a VP at a software firm in Chicago stuck with me. You deserve your moment. Ever consider public speaking? The tech world needs more voices like yours. I sat back in my office chair, stunned. All these years, I'd been screaming into a void with a smile on my face, and now people were finally listening. The best part? Evan didn't say a word. Not a like. Not a DM. Not even a fake congratulations. My cousin, the center of the family's world, had apparently gone silent the moment the spotlight shifted. 3 days later, my company's director of marketing swung by my desk. Hey, she said, that LinkedIn post? It's everywhere. One of the execs forwarded it to me. There's a young professionals panel at this SaaS summit next month in Salt Lake. I think you should speak. I blinked. Speak? Me. She smiled. Yeah, you're thoughtful, well-spoken, and relatable. The theme is visibility in the workplace. I think you'd crush it. I nearly laughed. The guy who couldn't even get his mom to ask how his week was now getting asked to speak on visibility? But I said yes, because I was done waiting for permission to be proud of myself. Still, something in me stayed tangled up in that night at my aunt's house. So I called my mom. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just asked, do you even know what I do, Mom? Like, do you actually know what my job is? There was a pause. Then, you help customers with tech stuff, right? Mom, I said quietly, I manage a team of 8 now. We handle enterprise-level retention and onboarding for one of the fastest-growing SaaS platforms in the US. Last quarter, my team increased client satisfaction by 29%. I got promoted because I earned it. And you didn't even say congratulations. She sighed. I didn't mean to ignore you, honey. Evan's had such a hard time. I've had a hard time too, I said. But no one asks. Another pause. Then she said, you should have told us. Loud and proud, like Evan does. That stuck with me for days. Loud and proud, like Evan. As if the only way to be seen was to shout. As if my quiet efforts weren't valid unless I blasted them through a megaphone. That night, I started journaling. Not for social media. Not for work. Just for me. I wrote down every promotion, every project I led, Every time I showed up for someone, family or not, and didn't get a thank you. I tallied the sacrifices. It was the first time I saw it all in one place. And then I wrote this at the bottom of the page. You were never invisible. They just refused to look. That became my new motto. A week later, a woman from the SaaS Summit emailed again. Your post inspired a session idea. Would you be willing to talk about being the overlooked achiever in tech? The words hit deep. Overlooked achiever. That was me. That had always been me. I said yes. And this time, I didn't wait for my family's permission. I didn't even tell them. Because this wasn't their story anymore. It was mine. The moment I stepped into the Salt Lake City conference hall, I felt my stomach turn. Rows of professionals in crisp blazers. Tech execs with Bluetooth earpieces. Giant banners with logos I'd only ever seen on funding reports and news articles. And me, just Jace from Denver, the quiet cousin who edited resumes in between sprint planning and bug reports. Imposter syndrome hit like a tidal wave. What am I doing here? Backstage, someone handed me a badge. Jace Carter, Customer Success Lead, Panel Speaker. I stared at it like it belonged to someone else. The moderator approached, handing out a rundown. We've got 30 minutes. You'll go second. Focus on your story. That LinkedIn post. It crushed. You've got something real. Just tell the truth. I nodded, but inside, I was shaking. When the panel started, the room was packed. Maybe 200 people. Maybe more. The first speaker, a woman from Seattle, talked about burnout. The crowd nodded. Then it was my turn. I walked up, palms sweating. Took a deep breath. And I said, my name is Jace Carter. And I'm the guy families forget to clap for. Silence. Not confusion, attention. I had it. I helped my cousin land his dream job. Coached him through interviews. Helped him practice elevator pitches. Even bought him the suit he wore to his final round. And when he got hired, my family threw him a party. Balloons. Toasts. Cake. I showed up with wine and waited. I looked out at the crowd. They were frozen, listening. No one asked about me. So I brought it up. I got promoted this week. They nodded. That was it. My mom later told me, let him have his moment. But I wasn't asking for confetti. I just wanted someone to care. I swallowed and then added, so I stopped waiting. I wrote a post. And the internet clapped louder than my family ever did. Scattered applause started. A woman in the front row wiped a tear. I guess what I learned is this. Applause is nice, but clarity is better. If they won't recognize you, recognize yourself. Loudly. Applause thundered now. A standing ovation from half the room. After the panel, people lined up just to shake my hand. HR managers, startup founders, interns. They all said the same thing. That was me too. Thank you for saying it out loud. I've never heard someone explain that kind of pain so clearly. I flew back to Denver with a new fire under me. And that's when the texts started rolling in. From my aunt. Heard you spoke at a fancy conference. Wow. Can we watch it somewhere? From Evan. You could have at least told me you were going to use my name. From my mom. I feel like you're mad at us. I didn't know you felt so unseen. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I started planning something I'd never done before, a party. For myself. I rented out a rooftop bar. Hired a local jazz trio. Invited coworkers, professional contacts, and the handful of friends who'd shown up for me when my own family hadn't. I even got a custom cake made. It read, promoted, seen, celebrated. I debated inviting family. Briefly, but I didn't. This wasn't a revenge move. It wasn't bitterness. It was boundary. They'd had plenty of chances to clap. This moment wasn't theirs to take credit for. At the party, my manager gave a short toast. To Jace, she said, whose story helped more people than he'll ever know. May your voice stay loud, and your worth never be a secret again. People clapped. I laughed. For once, the sound didn't sting. Because this time, I wasn't standing in the corner, holding someone else's wine bottle, waiting for someone to notice. I was center stage, under the string lights, finally toasting to myself. And this time, the applause was mine. The party was over, but something in me had just begun. That rooftop celebration changed how I walked into rooms. It wasn't just about being seen. It was about no longer asking for permission to exist out loud. My coworkers noticed it. My boss pulled me aside a week later and said, your leadership presence is different. Don't lose it. I smiled. I don't plan to. But life has a funny way of testing your resolve, right? when you start standing taller. 2 weeks after the party, I got a call from my aunt. No greeting. Just, you know what you did. I blinked. I'm sorry. That panel speech, she said. Evan saw it. He's been really down. Says he feels humiliated. I paused, breathing carefully. I didn't name him. You didn't have to, she snapped. You embarrassed this family. You made us look shallow and ungrateful. There it was. You embarrassed this family. Not we hurt you. Not we're sorry we overlooked you. I kept my voice steady. I told my truth. That's all. She exhaled into the phone, sharp and loud. Maybe if you weren't so sensitive, you'd have nothing to speak about. I hung up. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. It was the first time in years I didn't try to explain myself to people committed to misunderstanding me. But the tension wasn't done yet. The next day, my mom texted. Can we talk? Please. Evan's not doing well. I agreed to meet her at a cafe. Neutral ground. When I walked in, she was already seated, stirring tea like it was a nervous tick. She didn't smile. I wish you'd come to me first, she said. Before posting that. Before the panel. I sat down. Mom, I did come to you. At the party. I told you I got promoted. You said, let him have his moment. She flinched slightly. It was bad timing. No, I said. It was perfect timing. You just chose not to see me. She looked away, out the window. For a moment, I thought I saw something break through. Maybe guilt. Maybe realization. Then she whispered, you've always been strong. Evan needed that night more than you. That sentence hit like a sucker punch. So I leaned in and said, softly but firmly, that's exactly the problem. You saw me as less deserving because I'm used to being overlooked. You taught me to be strong by never giving me space to be anything else. She stared at her tea, stirred it again. No reply. We sat in silence for a minute. Then I said, I'm not here to shame anyone, but I'm not going to make myself small just because my story makes people uncomfortable. She nodded once, almost imperceptibly. I don't know how to fix it. You can start by listening, I said, not dismissing. As I walked out, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean, but the storm kept brewing. That weekend, Evan made a post on Facebook. It sucks when family tries to tear you down just to feel seen. I earned what I got. Some people can't stand that. Subtle, passive-aggressive, directed right at me. Within an hour, cousins were chiming in. Facts. Some people always play the victim. Jealousy is loud. My phone buzzed nonstop. And for a second, I was 15 again. Sitting at the kids' table during holidays, invisible while my cousins talked over me. But 15-year-old Jace didn't have a voice. 27-year-old Jace did. I opened LinkedIn again. Not to vent. To respond. To those who think telling your story equals tearing someone down, I invite you to reflect. If my truth makes you uncomfortable, maybe ask why, before asking me to be silent. Visibility is not a weapon. It's a mirror. And I'm done pretending it's my job to keep it turned away. It went viral. Again. Over 6,000 shares. Dozens of strangers DM'd me. One wrote, your post helped me confront my own family. I cried reading it. Thank you. Another, your story is a lifeline. And the biggest surprise? A recruiter from a leadership summit in Austin messaged me. We'd love to have you speak at our fall event. You're the kind of voice the industry needs. I accepted. Not to clap back. Not to prove anything. But to remind myself, and anyone listening, that being overlooked isn't a weakness. It's just the beginning of the moment you finally look back at yourself and say, I see you. And I'm not turning away anymore. Just when I thought the noise would die down, another email lit up my inbox, subject line. Your story inspired us. Let's talk. It was from Millstone and Gray, a consulting firm that worked with rising leaders in tech. Big names. Way above my radar. They said they'd seen my LinkedIn post. One of their directors forwarded it to the entire team. The body of the email read, we'd love to invite you to speak at our Denver conference in 2 months. Honorarium included. If you're open, we believe your story could start conversations that matter. I had to read it 3 times. I checked their website. It was real. I checked the sender's name, real. I sat back, heart racing, staring at the ceiling. Me? A speaker? The guy who used to hide in conference calls and let his voice crack during presentations? I hit reply, then hesitated, because I knew what came next. If I spoke there, it wouldn't just be a panel in front of young professionals. It would be public, visible, traceable. The kind of event my family might hear about from a coworker or a neighbor. But maybe that wasn't a bad thing. I wrote back, honored. Let's set up a time to talk details. 3 days later, I had a Zoom call with their director, Gina. She had a soft voice and sharp eyes. Your story's powerful, Jace, she said. We don't just want inspiration. We want honesty. Tell it like it happened. Our audience is full of folks who've been talked over for years. I nodded. You'll get that. After we hung up, I opened my notes app and started writing everything I'd never said aloud. Meanwhile, things at home got weirder. My aunt posted a passive-aggressive status about toxic narratives from bitter people. My cousin Evan posted a gym selfie captioned, working hard in silence while others cry for attention. And then, my mom sent me an email. A long one. Subject line, I read your post again. The message, I didn't realize how deep this ran. I'm sorry I dismissed you. I was trying to keep peace. But maybe I wasn't listening. I want to change that, if you'll let me. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. I didn't respond right away. I needed time. The next month, I started prepping my speech. It was a strange feeling, standing in front of my bathroom mirror, practicing the words that had been boiling inside me for years. And then the big day came. The Denver Tech Leadership Conference. I wore the blazer I bought for Evan's party. My name was printed on a glossy pamphlet. The bio said, Jace Langley, Customer Success Manager and Advocate for Quiet Leaders. That was me now. Backstage, my hands were shaking. I looked out at the packed auditorium, hundreds of faces. The host tapped my shoulder. You're up in 2. And that's when I saw her. In the crowd. My mom. Front row. Alone. She didn't wave. Didn't call out. Just looked at me with eyes that finally saw me. I stepped out onto the stage. The mic crackled. My palms were sweaty. But I didn't choke. I said, for a long time, I thought silence was noble. I thought shrinking was polite. I thought if I just waited long enough, someone would see me. But visibility doesn't come from permission, it comes from truth. And I'm done whispering. The crowd clapped. I kept going. Talked about the cousin I helped. The party I showed up to. The moment I left early with a bottle of wine still unopened. And how I stopped chasing applause from people who never clapped for me. I ended with, sometimes the loudest room still leaves you unheard. But the echo of your own truth? That's a sound you never forget. Standing ovation. I walked off stage shaking, not from nerves, but from release. Gina met me backstage, smiling. Jace, she said, you were electric. That night, I got dinner with my mom. She didn't try to defend anyone. She just said, I'm proud of you. And for once, it didn't feel too late. The next day, Evan texted, heard about your speech. Good job. I guess I didn't know how much it meant to you. I didn't need the text, but I appreciated it. I replied, thanks. Hope your new role is going well. Truly. What came after? The silence. Not an empty silence. A peaceful one. No more needing to prove anything. No more waiting for someone to say good job before I let myself breathe. And that, more than any party or promotion, felt like freedom. The conference changed everything, but not in the way people usually think. No riches. No instant celebrity. No dramatic family reunion. What it gave me was something I never expected, clarity. After the panel, I was invited to 3 more speaking engagements. One in Chicago, another in Austin, a third, virtual, with a startup accelerator in San Francisco. I wasn't just telling a story anymore. I was living a truth other people needed to hear. Quiet workers, overlooked creatives, young professionals who had been skipped over, passed by, and told to wait their turn. My inbox was full of them. I started writing more posts, threads on emotional labor, family dynamics and success, and how tech can amplify underdog voices. My following grew. Recruiters started reaching out. One even said, we want someone like you, a culture builder, not just a performer. But I wasn't done where I was. At my SaaS company, I began mentoring newer hires. The same way I used to coach Evan, but now, I was doing it for people who saw me, not just what I could do for them. Then one day, the CEO stopped me in the hallway. Jace, he said, heard about that panel you did. We're hosting a leadership summit next quarter. Want to help plan it? I blinked. Yes, absolutely. He smiled. Also, you've got a talent for storytelling. Ever thought of heading up customer engagement strategy? That was a whole different level. A role I didn't even know was open. He patted my shoulder. Let's talk. But then came the twist. Evan messaged me again. Hey, random, but I think something I said upset you. Did I ever say your promotion didn't matter? I didn't answer right away. A week later, my mom forwarded me a long family thread. Aunt Karen, Evan's mom, had said, not everyone has to make a moment about them. Some folks post online instead of showing up in real life. Another cousin chimed in. Honestly, Jace always acts like the victim. He's doing fine. Why does he need applause too? I stared at the screen. My throat tightened. That thread wasn't meant for me. But now I knew how deep it went. Even now, after everything, I was still the problem in their eyes. Still the one asking for too much. Even when I gave so much. I sat with it. Felt it. Then I did something I'd never done before. I blocked the entire thread. Every last one of them. Even Aunt Karen. Even Evan. I didn't do it out of anger. I did it because I deserved peace. Because sometimes, protecting your future means deleting the voices that only remember your silence. 2 weeks later, I hosted my own event. A private celebration. I rented out a small rooftop space in Denver. Cozy. Minimal. There were candles, a few platters of food, and a jazz duo playing quietly in the background. I didn't invite family. I invited the right people. Friends who saw me. Coworkers who backed me when no one else did. New connections who told me my words mattered. At the end of the night, someone clinked their glass and shouted, "To Jace." The room cheered. And for the first time ever, I believed it. That the party wasn't just polite noise. It was real. Earned. True. As I stood watching the Denver skyline, I thought about Evan's cake. The toasts. My mom's whisper. Let him have his moment. And I realized, I had let him have his moment. I just never had mine. Until now. This wasn't revenge. It was release. A few months later, I got the call. That customer strategy role? It was mine. Another $20,000 raise. A new team. New influence. New voice. And on my first day in the new role, I wore that same blazer. The one I brought to Evan's party. But this time, it fit better. Maybe it was my posture. Maybe it was pride. Either way, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a shadow anymore. I saw a man who stopped waiting for applause and started building his own damn spotlight.